Hello, everybody. What is up? It is me, Juniper Blue Mistake. For those who don't know me, titles are titles, right? But I am an Ascension Master, a Master Healer, and a Divine Guide. What is the difference between the two? Generally speaking, I kind of do everything. I'm not just a healer. I did things to the planet as well. Okay, the earth, the ethereal. And those that are truly watching the videos and seeing beyond the illusions more and more are becoming more aware of what I've done, right? I don't just do things to people, I do things to the earth. And those that I work with, I help heal them in master ways. So I'm not limited to the healings that I do. Not to mention, since 2019, I had my own Kundalini awakening. Before that, I was crisis specialist, behavioral technician type things, psychology degree. Then I had a sudden Kundalini awakening I didn't plan on having. Came through me, happened to me. And from there, I began doing healings on people I couldn't explain. Nobody could explain. Do things like coming out of my body, and people were like, that's remote viewing. And I'm like, no, it's beyond that, right? Like I was all of a sudden like almost astral traveling, I guess you would call it, in the daytime, to doing healings on people, to doing things to the earth, right? That I didn't understand what I was doing until it finally all came full circle. And in the end, I realized what I was doing. Activating pyramids, clearing Mount Shasta, raising Atlantis, freeing Jesus's soul, undoing the Holy Grail, uniting Jesus and Mary Magdalene once again, which the Holy Grail played a part in separating them, okay, because they're twin flames. Hello, Lisa. To the final timeline of Sekhmet and Horus, which that was the portal of the Nile, which God bypassed a whole year's worth of your ability to clear karma and brought us into the final timeline. Welcome. Some of you are watching the videos, but what I find interesting is still only certain videos are being paid attention to. We have an inability to see things clearly through that lens of the veil, right? And that's what God wants me to talk about today, is there's always this, what he calls the resistance, right? The inability to see past the resistance, the inability to see beyond the illusion of grandeur, 222. And one of those is money, right? Money, people are still being controlled by money. I felt it in the energy. I had to clear my energy from it today. And it's just it's not going to help you rise. Okay. But look at the way the matrix is, right? The matrix, the shackles, the prison that we were all in, which you have been freed from either way, was designed to create all these shackles that bind you, like a prison sentence. What keeps you out of your power, out of your ability to rise? And one of those is money. Being governed means to be controlled. Government means to be mind controlled. 666, right? Mark of the beast talks about mind control. 6 is numbers of the mind. And so this is what they always use to control you. What is up, Lisa? I have a feeling it might just be you and I today. We will see. We will see. God really wanted me to talk about this because we are in the final timeline. I recently showed you this, okay? Beyond showed you this. It came through me. I told you God was telling me that they bypassed a year's worth of time. Then he called for these 8 days of workshops that I just finished, which turned out to be, and I didn't even know it was going to be, the birthing of New Earth, okay? And it goes with everything I've done in the Return of Christ work, because I am the Return of Christ. I am your light home, all right? Thank you. So in order to rise, those who have the lens of unconditional love will now begin to rise. Anything that's karma related won't be able to, okay? So that's why they call it a karmic playout. The end of days, or the end of ways is what God calls it, means you can't do anything outside of God. And that veil, true God, not the false one. There is a false one. There is one that they've shoved down your throats, and it's not true. Okay. The veil of illusion, 444. This is a very important message. I'm getting a lot of validation, synchronicities, whatever you want to call them. Okay. It's like an ascension frequency rise. All right. I talk about those. But the veil of illusion was undone when I cleared Mount Shasta, first of all, and then the totality of the return of Christ work. I've undone it all. And you guys are coming into a part where you won't have any choice but to see. Okay, you won't have any choice but to see because the veil has been removed completely. All right. And even the 144,000 light workers, star seeds, twin souls were not all choosing outside of the shackles that bind you. They were not all choosing to see beyond the illusions of grandeur that the matrix places upon you. Money's a big one. Okay, manifesting. The matrix has a really great way of keeping you small and manifesting as well. Okay, keeping you money controlled. Most people do everything because of money. That is their guide. Okay, they want money, money this, money that, money this, money that, and they even threw that towards me, which is not true at all. Okay, that's not the way I operate. That's not the way God operates. Okay. If love is not your guide for everything, you won't make it. Okay. Because that's the power of God. That's the power in you. And that is what the matrix stole from you. Right. So they like to keep you in fear. They like to keep you controlled and in those shackles that bind you. So most people are in judgments. Most people, you know, if I don't have this mansion or lots of makeup and fake boobs and all of these things, then I'm not worthy. I even had somebody once tell me that, oh, why doesn't everybody see who you are? It can't be you. You can't be that, even though they wouldn't watch the videos to see the proof or work with me, never even worked with me. But they had this theory because everybody couldn't see me that I'm not who I say I am. And it hurt for a split second. And then I'm like, they don't have any clue because they didn't watch anything. They didn't watch the undoing of the Holy Grail. They didn't watch my own awakening process. They didn't watch the entire totality play out and me going, look what I just did. And then processing it like, oh, right? Just like most of you didn't even watch the entire new earth being born and created one day after the other. Day 6, barely anybody watched. And which day was it where the power lines were undone? And I told you 3 days of darkness is on its way. So there are so many illusions. There are so many false concepts of the mind. It was incredible. And day 6, I called back all my light and powers of divination. So anybody in the matrix is going to start to lose their connection to God. And those that will rise will follow it home. Okay. And that's why they talk about certain ones being called up. It's all about who can see beyond the illusions of grandeur. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was day 6, maybe. I'm not sure. They're all in a row though, and they all matter. And I notice people are picking and choosing which ones they see, just like the totality of all of what I've done. Barely anybody wanted to see Horus return. Barely anybody wanted to see certain things, but then they would pick and choose what they would see. Okay. And that goes with the illusions of grandeur, right? And people can sit there and tell you, well, I have to live and I have to do this and I have to do that. You're giving your power away. Okay. The matrix is designed to keep you one way, period. Okay. It's designed to keep you outside of your power. And you have to be in full alignment to the new earth to make it. That's not a maybe. That's not out of fear, because I don't come from fear. I come from pure love. But within that is your own sovereignty, right? When I was doing the Return of Christ work, I threw money in the thing too, because it has a karmic kickback. Why? Why would that be? Do you know how many people kill each other for money? How many families do you know that are like, oh, sorry, I can't help you? I actually had somebody once go, sure, I'll help you with $100. This was like years ago, right? Years ago. And they're like, but I heard them. That was like, they were like going to charge somebody interest. And it was somebody that they truly cared about. And I'm like, so instead of just helping, you're going to make a gain off of helping them. And during my awakening, it was like God was like, I panicked because I could no longer do my psychology degree. I'm like, what do you mean? I thought that was my heart center. And God's like, no, it wasn't. That's the matrix center. Okay. So they use money as a very big control. Okay. There's a lot of people who've killed each other over money. Um, if you're not more concerned about your house being better or bills, and all of these kinds of things, then they look at you like you're broken, right? Like those people who don't want to play in the matrix are looked at like a disease, right? There are people who have done everything right, everything they're supposed to do, and find themselves in a position where, they're raising these things, they're raising taxes, they're raising all of these things, and they finally find themselves in a position where they can't live. You talk about retirement, but then they've hit you so hard with all these inflation things, you can't live. Have you ever worked with the elderly or dealt with Medicare? Have you watched the way they really do things? It doesn't matter who you are. All they want is to take back from you. Right? I worked in for Medicare at one point in time, and I couldn't do it. I was like, oh, hail to the no. Right? Elderly live off retirement. They live off of SSI a lot of times and things. And Medicare literally will take, I don't know how much from you just for medical, because they know you're going to need this. You're going to need, it's like this whole system designed to take all your power away, make you live in fear. We got into a world where we don't even, it's like a burden when your loved ones need assistance, right? Money governs 99% of the population, but they did that to you on purpose, right? Because if you can't pay rent, that's scary. What are you going to do? If you can't pay for water, you have to pay for water? Like what that's not right. You shouldn't have to pay for electricity and water and heat and air conditioning. All of this is so not God. Okay. If you're really watching my work, the earth supplies these things, and it should be free for all. Even Tesla tapped into that, didn't he? He talked about the pyramids and how they supply electricity. And if you watch me activating the pyramids and returning the crystal grid, and even in day 8, I think, what day was it where I returned the crystal? Was it 6? The one most people don't want to watch. Day 6 of birthing the new earth, the one most people haven't watched. I took the crystal back and put it in the core. There's this crystal matrix underneath the earth, and it holds power. And this is part of what the Egyptians were trying to depict on the pyramid walls, right? Their messages to people, because we didn't always have English. Right? We had symbols and drawings and things of communication. So money, I still feel it too. Like there's this fear of money. There's a pull with money. And then you have all these laws that is in the matrix, right? 12 gates of abundance is not even right. It's 13 gates. They lied to you. They lied to you because if they told you the truth, you wouldn't need them. Okay, if you truly knew how to manifest, you wouldn't need them. And believe me, I do. I even wrote a book about it. New Earth manifesting and co-creating. What is co-creating? Why is that not taught? We're taught laws. Ew. Even that word is like, ew, 1333. Right? We're never taught to be in our own power. You never were. Okay. They wanted the bound to the shackles that bind them. And there's a reason why God is pushing all of these timelines onto one right now and said, enough is enough. He is calling it the great reset of mankind for a reason. Okay. Does that mean nobody gets to ascend? No. That means only those who have a true lens of sovereignty and love will make it through. If you have karma binding you, you won't ascend. And I even had somebody tell me recently, karma doesn't exist. I'm like, wow, okay. Maybe not for you, but it does for anybody connected to God. Because that's the way God is. You have free will. Okay. So that's what karma is. It's just learning lessons of where is your sovereignty? Where are you giving your power away? How to create your reality, because you truly are a creator. right? It's not about punishment. It's about you giving your power away and doing things outside of that light, outside of unconditional love, right? And money, 1444, sorry, my nose is all itchy, is the biggest manipulator. Money creates so much fear, right? How many people get judged because they don't have a perfect brand new car or the nicest house? Like influencers, like somebody was telling me, again, you can't be that because not everybody sees you. Well, wait, that's the way the Matrix wanted it. The Matrix cut you off from that light. That's the veil. Illusion and grandeur. That's what they wanted you seeing, is all lies and manipulation, division. That's why they created those things. Anything to divide you, because together as a whole, if you come together through unconditional love and power of sovereignty, they could never bind you. They would never be able to control you. This is why they divide and conquer, and then they keep you in fear from sicknesses. If you watch the new earth being birthed, the earth is to provide healthy foods. We were never meant to be sick. We weren't. There's no chemicals. There's going to be no chemicals. There's going to be no control of money. 1555 of fear. The synchronicities on this video are insane. Okay. It's very important to hear this message. All right. And my new painting is showing you all this too. There's crosses burning. Why? Am I Antichrist? No, I'm quite the opposite. Okay. I know what the Holy Grail was. I know what truly happened to Jesus and Mary Magdalene, to Adam and Eve, to Sekhmet and Horus, to the sun and the moon. Okay. That's the return of Christ. God is in your heart. We are all together here. Okay. Everybody should be together here. Unconditional love. Yet you don't have that in the world we are now leaving. Do you? There's so much judgment, so much fear, so much control, so much manipulation, so much. So much. It was designed to keep you from the truth. That's the veil. Okay. If you knew your power, like I said, they would have never been able to control you. But they need that power because they have none. If you watch day 6, I cut them all off from God's light and they withered. They had nothing. 666, mind control. It gets in your head and it makes you think you're weaker. It makes you think you can't call in money. Wait, what? I can call in money? What about all these laws? All these laws? That's not manifesting. Does that feel yucky to you? How many of those laws? I don't even pay attention to those because even in my book, I'll tell you, laws are third dimensional. They will not manifest you anything. There is one block to pure abundance. Lack. Money, having a focus of money keeps you in lack. I tell people all the time, do not match the vibration of money to call it in. Vibration of money is dark. That stuff was low. Okay. People will kill people over money. It's fear, right? If I can't make money, I can't pay my rent. I'm going to be homeless. I've got all these kids. I got to be able to eat. But if people go get assistance, they're looked at as less than. Oh, you want to know how many times I got fired because I chose my kids over my job? Well, you can sit on it and spin is what I would tell them. I even chose somebody else's kid one time because he landed in my lap. His mom had him high on meth and I had to help this kid detox. And I had my boss at a bank nonetheless tell me, that's not your kid, get to work. And I told her, have a good day, click. But people are afraid to do that. People are afraid. Even family, I've watched this. My ex-husband's family was so that way, right? It was so that way. They might give their kids a little helping hand, but it was always at a cost. You know what I mean? It's like buying love, those kinds of things. It's all distorted confusion. Okay. Nobody should have to be a doctor or a lawyer to be something special. Right? The starving artist. Let's look at all of these things. People would try to go for their joys and they would be called delusional. Whoa, you better go do this and you better give away 90% of your life working your ass off so that you can pay taxes to pay taxes to pay taxes so you can have a crumb of what you actually make. And it got to the point where people were even having to hire other people to raise their kids so that they could make lots of money. Look at Hollywood. Right? Let's look at that. People who had lots of money, generally speaking, 8 out of 10 of them sold their soul to get it in some way, shape, or form. But that was the matrix, right? Even in Hollywood, people who were true artists would sit there and tell you, I don't care how good you are. Wasn't Prince one of them? And he died shortly after, I think. I never did a video on him, though, why he truly died. But he would even tell you, it doesn't matter how talented you are, unless they would allow you to rise, they will keep you small, right? They choose who's famous and who's not. And it's not always a true artiste, right? You feel me? So with manifesting, the one vibration you want to actually match to manifest is love. Not money, not items. Items became more important. Clothes became more important. Cars became 11111 became more important. You're not going to survive anymore no matter what. You understand that? 2122. Like, are you noticing banks are crashing? I had my bank broken into 2 days ago, stole money from me. And today the banks are down. And I'm like, this is so fun. And it's because there was energy of focus of money. And so I had to call back my power and cut the ties because it has to be love. Okay. I can't live in fear in the new earth. Fear does not exist. I can't live in worry in the new earth. Worry is not of God. Okay. How many times do you hear people go, well, I can't, go do this because I got to go make money. I have to do this because I have to make money. If people don't want to play the game of the matrix, they're deemed as mentally ill. If they want to live off grid, they're deemed as something is wrong with them. 2222. Family members will treat you less than if money is not your focus. I look at the mentality of it. Okay. Look at the mentality of it. I remember God told me to put all my work together and put a price on it because not everybody was meant to have it. But what people don't realize is if anybody came to me, and people have done it, and they're like, I want this, but I can't afford it. Tell me what you can afford. It was never about money. It was about who can see past the illusion. Who can see past the illusion to the truth. And people still don't even want to watch the entirety of the birthing of the new earth. You have to watch 1 through 8 to get the totality of it. But I've noticed people will pick and choose what they see to this day. Through all of the Return of Christ work I've done, people will pick and choose what they see rather than seeing the totality of the truth. 2333. Because the illusions of grandeur. People will literally tell me, well, if that's who you are, why doesn't everybody see you? Because that's what they wanted. That's the veil. People can only see to where their shadow lies. So if you're controlled by the shackles that bind you, that is where your ability to see is going to blind you. New Earth is about being in your sovereignty. Owning the power that is you and co-creating from the heart center. Everything in your reality has to be heart-centered, not binded by the matrix. Anywhere you're controlled by the shackles that bind you, you are blinded to the light of the one and the truth. I don't care who you are. I use De La Roca a lot. He doesn't know me, our everyday lives. But if you truly watch my work, if you've watched my work without, the illusions and just being the observer that you're meant to be, that God wants you to be, rather than a spectator and observer, you're just open and you're watching. I will do stuff like activate pyramids. I took us into the Nile portal a little early because God said nobody was choosing unconditional love. And then days to weeks later, sometimes less than 24 hours, our everyday lives will see it in the energy. And he will do a video on it. And I will be like, look, I told you. He sees what I did. But why can't he see me yet? Because the veil of the illusion. He actually has a little bit of ego there. So if I don't have 1 million followers, are you telling me that I'm not truly the return of Christ? If I'm not a male with a beard, am I not Jesus? Actually, it's my DM, though, not I. But you would know that if you watched all my videos. Right? These are the illusions of grandeur. These are the illusions of religion, mind control, all of the shackles that bind you. They moved the sun, they moved the moon. They did all these things to divide you, to keep you out of your sovereignty. And then they tell you there's only 12 gates of abundance, which is a complete lie. There's 13. And if you watched all of my stuff, you would know that. 13 gates is heaven. There's actually 13 gates to abundance, not 12, but they don't tell you that in the Matrix. They know that, but they won't tell you that. There's this veil of illusion. And until your heart is fully healed of all the karma, those are the shackles that bind you, things that keep you from unconditional love, there's things you won't be able to see. And that's when God bypassed this whole year timeline of healing capabilities for the collective soul and called a great reset. That's what he talked about. Until you can see all, there was work to do. Your heart needs to be pure. New Earth Blueprint, co-creating and manifesting. I wrote a book about it because they lied to you. Okay. You have to be heart-centered. Hello, Roger. You have to be heart-centered. If you are not pure of heart and you're not balanced from the heart center, you're not the observer, you're a spectator, you won't be aligned for this portal. This is the final portal. Okay? They want you small. They want you in judgment because that's not God. It's not. I don't care what they tell you. They want you in fear because that's not God. All of that takes your power away and lowers your vibration. Money takes your power away and lowers your vibration. If you are governed by money, meaning everything you do is a focus of money first, you're in trouble. That's not the new earth. You have to be heart-centered, pure in the heart, vibration of love. Okay, that's the best, highest vibration you need to get to. And then when you're balanced from there and your focus is creating your reality and joy and sovereignty, knowing how to truly manifest, abundance is a byproduct. Okay, but abundance is more than money. There are no laws in abundance. There are only things that keep you from pure abundant flow. And the main one is lack. Everything in the matrix is designed to keep you in lack. Fear. Do you know how high rents are? I'm a single mom and people barely watch my videos, let alone support me freely. And rents are astronomical. Talk about fear. Talk about control. Talk about manipulation. Are you telling me I can't do what my joy is because unless I'm making $500,000 a year, I can no longer survive? Astronomical. And if I don't have a million followers, I'm not worth listening to or watching my videos. Something's wrong with that picture. People who don't have the nicest car, they're looked down upon. People who don't have the nicest house, they're looked down upon. People who need help for food, God forbid if even food would be free, or water, or heat, or air conditioning, they have kept all of this from you. And if you've really watched my videos rather than picking and choosing, when I created the seasons, there will be no extremes. Why? Because it was the earth trying to correct what was being done to her. She was dying. But you know that, right? Because you watched my videos, the return of Christ. It's big. Okay? So the earth is correcting herself. And in the matrix, I cut it all off from light. And even the fallen were using God's light. And number 6, day 6 was one of the most important ones that very few people watched. Because in that one, I called back all divination tools to me, to the new earth. That's not an illusion. You cannot use light in the matrix anymore. That's why. You cannot use God's power in the matrix anymore. That's why. That's why they're coming up with all this cryptocurrency. And that's why everything's falling apart. Because I threw money in a portal. It has a karmic kickback. So those who chose money over love are going to have that karmically play back in their reality in the last days, unless they can see above the illusions. All the illusions of grandeur. Food is part of the illusions of grandeur. Do you want to really know what causes autism? I know. I didn't know until I had my awakening and I started doing healings on people. What causes all of these things is the genetic modifications. Genetic modifications. That's what they've been doing to you. They've been modifying who you are, taking away your sovereignty, taking away the power that is you. That's what they've been doing. And all God said was, see beyond that illusion. Don't let fear get you. Don't let their control stop you. That's it. God didn't come here to punish anybody, but they want you to believe that, don't they? They want you to think that God judges you. God doesn't judge you. Judgments are a reflection of you. Being the observer rather than the spectator. That's in my new book too, because that you need to understand for manifesting. But they don't tell you that, do they? No, they just tell you the laws. Laws are not real. They keep you shackled. And people are going to tell me, well, you need laws for safety. Only in the matrix. 3333. Because in the new earth, we're all connected. It's always for the betterment of all. That is something that some people would tell you for manifesting, wouldn't it? One of the true, I don't like to use the law because that's not God. God doesn't use that word. But one of the boundaries of manifesting a new earth is for the betterment of all. Okay. 33333. So if you don't care how you affect others, that's not love. Love. Unconditional love. There's no conditions to love. Wait, what? Oh, the Matrix says otherwise. And money is a really powerful tool they use against you. But yet, they print it. But then they'll teach you it doesn't grow on trees. You have to work really, really hard for it. No, you don't. You are imbalanced from the heart center. Your vibration is so high. You can see how to create and call things in. And you create your reality. But they don't want you believing that. Because if you knew that, if they gave you the truth, they wouldn't keep you divided and against each other. And why do they do that? People always say, well, I can't believe in a God because why would he hurt anybody? That's not true. God would never want anybody to die. God is not sacrifice. But they teach you that with Jesus, didn't they? Except for I know what happened because I undid the Holy Grail and united my DM and I. It was very painful what they did. Very painful. And then they would use church to continue to poison you. That's why the cross is burning up here and souls were freed when I did that. You know how many people they burned on crosses? Jesus wasn't one of them. They broke the ankh. That's the true cross. Okay. Everything they've told you is a lie for a reason. They would take little pieces of the truth because then it would reflect in your heart. So you would hook, line, and sinker. They poisoned Jesus and stole his blood and wrote a contract ripping apart him and Mary Magdalene, ripping apart God's power and light. And then you have all these divisions, right? Catholicism, Judaism, Jesus was none of those things. He was a mystic. What do mystics believe? God is in your heart. You are a fragmented light of God. So in day 6 of birthing new earth, that's what that represented. I called back all of that light and cut all of the fallen off from that light. That's what I truly did, is divide the light from the darkness. You cannot use God's light anymore to hurt anybody because that is not God. So that illusion that they would place that God would allow this to happen was a lie. They basically stole the earth and put this veil of illusion around you. And that was Mount Shasta. In Mount Shasta, there were hundreds of souls trapped there. It was all this bloodshed. And in part 2, you can watch them. They're on my channel. If you can't be able to rise, okay? It's become that observer and soak it up as fast as you can and heal your heart from all shackles that bind you, because the time is now to rise. And I am that light that's going to guide you. That's unconditional love, okay? If you truly hear me without judgment stopping you, without those shackles of illusion binding you, you will see. You will awaken. It'll be like, phew. But the shadow will try to stop you. It's always going to do that. That was the veil of illusion. They wanted you to believe all these lies, that you're weak. Divide, conquer, torture, bloodshed. Anywhere in history you see bloodshed and sacrifice is not God. I repeat that, yet they're going to have you pray to the Son that he sacrificed for you. That makes no sense at all. No, especially if you know the truth. I undid the Holy Grail on Christmas Day in 22, live on this channel, and I didn't know it was coming. Do you feel me? When you truly know the truth, they have no power over you. And you cannot take God's light into the matrix anymore. That's what they were doing to all of you. The original fallen angel. It started with one fallen angel. Do you know who that was? His name was not Lucifer, but some scripture tells you it was. That's El Diablo. That's his new term. And if you watch the Return of Christ work, you would know, because in Mount Shasta part 2, he burned when I undid his work. Mount Shasta 1 and 2 was the undoing of the veil. Why was there a veil? You guys would know this if you watched the work. Okay, and it's a lot to process. I get that, because it's true work. God is vast. The work I do is very vast, but you don't have time, because nobody was choosing to see above into unconditional love. There were a lot of judgments thrown towards the work of God. And judgment is not of God. Okay. So in Mount Shasta 1 and 2, Part one, I didn't know what I never knew what I was doing until it's done. And then I process it. And you'll see that if you watch any of the work that I do. Everything I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what that meant. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm a pure channel. I do the work. It took my light, which is why I swelled. My heart became enlarged when I activated the pyramids. This I know. It was very real and very painful, but I am so blessed. It was a sacrifice I was willing to make. And I even had a walk-in DM to do it. And if you know what happened to Jesus, that would make sense. They stole his soul, which is why they hung him on a cross. It broke the cross because they ripped apart God. God is masculine and feminine, which is why when you see twin flames that are not a masculine and a feminine, they're not real. Okay. Mount Shasta, 1 and 2. You see this angel under here? This painting right here, somebody else did. I didn't do this one. And I talk about that a lot. Like if you're truly paying attention to what I do, what's around me, what's happened to me, the journey, all of the work, you can't deny it. But the shackles are going to want you to. Because then they don't have your power anymore. That's the only way they lived, is by taking from God. The original fallen, Archangel Samael, fell from God. He wanted God's power. And he got others to fall with him. So when I was uniting with my DM, right before I brought down the anointing of the blood of Christ, right before I undid the Holy Grail back in 2021 and 2022, before my original DM died, I realized God told me I was battling 3 fallen angels. 3, not 1, 3. And I didn't know that. I just knew I almost died. It was very painful. We had to battle the deep blue sea. I had to battle all of these things, okay? It's all there. And God told me it was 3 fallen. Okay, but the original was Archangel Samael. Jesus was poisoned by John the Apostle. And it would tell you in there that Jesus kept telling John, or Jeshua, whatever you want to call him, right? It's human names versus spirit names, soul names, totally different things. It doesn't matter. But he would tell him, don't praise the angels, praise God. Don't worship. Sandalphon is the angel of music. I believe they say actually Samael was the angel of darkness, but there's a reason for that, right? So just be careful with history stuff, because they don't tell you the truth until you get to know the angel hand on, right? Because angels always come to me different than what is depicted, because they don't tell you the truth, right? But Samael, I believe, worked with the earth a lot and different things. Okay, but it doesn't, what matters is he wanted God's power. And this is the same thing that Jesus was trying to tell John the Apostle. Okay. John the Apostle kept worshiping the angels over God. Everything I do, I call God first. I don't care. Everything you'll hear me do, I call God first. God is number 1. God created the angels. Angels are fallible. Plus, there was a lot of entities that would claim to be something they were not. So the way I teach too is that you need to understand the difference between a true energy of an angel to energy that is not light, because you can have imposters. Okay, that's what happened. And so John fell prey and poisoned Jesus. And then 3 others plus him stole his blood, had Mary partake, and wrote a contract, enslaving all of mankind, ripping apart Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and fully creating the religious veil. Okay. So religion is a veil. Mount Shasta was the totality of the veil. So in Mount Shasta part 1, I had to clear all the souls out first. There was hundreds of souls trapped there, and it took me 30 days to process all of their deaths. So I had to take a break. That was back in 2020, I believe, is when I did that one. I had to take a break for like 30 days of doing anything and process all of their deaths one by one. Then I cleansed the root chakra and returned it back to Fiji. Fiji is the Earth's true root chakra, and they stole it and put it out Mount Shasta. That's why you see this triangle with an eye up here. This painting was done before I did the work, mind you, by somebody else named Martina in 2020. She did a reading on me, and this is what she saw. And she's like, I don't know what this means, but I have to paint it. I'm like, okay. And on day 8 of birthing the new Earth, was it day 8 or 7? A phoenix rose. And there's the phoenix, which finally made sense. It didn't make sense until now. But I sat on Saturn and rose Atlantis with Hermes the god in the beginning of the work that I was doing. And this was Mount Shasta, which I didn't realize until it was done, right? And that was the fallen angel, hence black with wings. In part 2, I burned Samael. Okay. So essentially, they were taking God's light and enslaving all of mankind. And they do it through the shackles that bind you: money, fear, ego, judgment, being the spectator over the observer, which is why I teach a lot about that in my book and stuff. And I try to talk about everything on here, but it's a lot of information. And so I keep repeating sometimes because it takes a bit for us to full sovereignty it, right? Come full circle moments with the awakening of it. And we don't have time anymore. A lot of people were choosing to not see beyond the illusions, which is why God bypassed and said, Great Reset ordered. Do you realize that's what's happening? God bypassed a whole year's worth of portals because that was an opportunity for people to keep healing. You have to heal all karma to rise. Those that have karma won't make it. We have to accept that now. I've been on here for years doing this work, and 99% of it was judged. There's been a lot of times I was crying going, God, why can't people just love what I did? Like, they're not loving the true anointing and what that means. They were not even seeing the undoing of the Holy Grail. So many people won't choose to see beyond that illusion. That's the 666. That's the veil, the mind control, the shadow. Anywhere you have shadow within you, which is what creates your karma. That's where your shadow lies, your karma demise. You can't see me. You cannot fully hear me or see who I am. You can't see God all the way. Right? I see a lot of people who do channel some truths. They do, like De La Roca, but even he has a veil. Even he has a veil. He sees what I do, but he doesn't see me. Literally, you can watch that in the videos. I will do something to the earth, and then he will see it. And I would blow my mind. I was battling with my twin flame. Oh my God. And God was trying to tell my twin flame, and it was like sucking the life out of me. And it was horrible. It was very painful, and it all played out on this channel. And De La Roca would eventually go, oh, this twin flame, you have to choose love. And I was like, how does he see it? It blew my mind. But he only gets to a certain point, and even he doesn't see it all. It's a lot to see. Okay? Because where there is healing required will blind you to the light that is. Which is why I've noticed in birthing the new earth, people are only picking and choosing what they want to see. Yet barely few of you watch day 6. And in day 6, I called back all divination tools. And I didn't even know I was going to do that until I did it. I was like, oh, and I cut off all of their cords to the light, and the fallen, all their hearts shriveled. The matrix has no light left. You cannot use light in darkness anymore. So unless you rise to the new earth, you won't even be able to channel or use tarot cards. But those that will be able to rise will follow that light back. and everybody else won't be able to. And the time is now. But I can already feel people going, well, where are these big events? You realize God's showing you everything. But those who can see beyond the veil of illusion can see more than others can. Those who still think that money is the most important thing can't see to the totality of love and what God has done and what God is doing. They're governed by money. They're too busy to watch the videos. They're too busy to pay attention to the sky. They're too busy, or they're too afraid. They're too afraid to leave a job that creates misery within their heart because they have to pay their bills. Shackles that bind you. Money, fear, judgment, ego, power play. You realize that they stole Eve's power. Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Horus. That's why they ripped them apart. They stole the power of God, and they used it against you this whole entire time. And then they only give you little tidbits of the truth. They tell you, oh, to manifest, you need laws of assumption and laws of this and law. And I'm like, no, please don't use those words. Do not hold on to any of that energy. It's all a lie. And now you'll see people go like that Master Sri Arkshana guy. His name used to be Chris, I think. He trips me out because, his focus is money. And now all of a sudden he'll be like, oh, don't use the laws anymore. And everybody's like, are you telling me I spent all this money for you to teach me how to manifest and now you're telling me it's wrong? I'm like, yeah, he just did that. Because one can only see to where their shadow lies. Okay. So not everybody's out to get you. Some are. Some will use the tools just to manipulate you. That's what the Matrix does. Some don't want you to rise because it takes their power away. So you do have false prophets. But then you have other prophets, like the one I've showed you recently, or even De La Roca. You can call him a prophet, right? Who see things, but they can only see so far. Does it make everything they see not right? No. Sometimes, though, their personal opinions get in the way. Sometimes their assumptions get in the way. Because just like I teach in my academy, is if you hesitate for 1 second, if you let go of being the clear channel and I thought for 1 second about what was happening, I'm no longer spirit guided. I'm now controlling what comes through my ego or my expectations. But if you truly watch the work that I do, even the new ones, even Birthing the New Earth, I had no clue. No clue. None. They would give me a little message and I would read it. And I remember one day I was like, I saw the hourglass and a portal. I was like, I rise up to a portal and I see the hourglass. And I was trying to figure that out. But then I was like, nope, I'm not going to worry about it. It didn't make sense till the very end. And I was like, oh, that was the portal of time. Day 8. That's the portal we are in. It's the final one, you guys. We don't have time to see past these illusions. We don't have time to be in fear or controlled by money. I'm in the new earth and I can't have worry being my guide, yet somebody in the group is. And this morning I had to call my power back because there are people who rose through me. They're already in the new earth. But there's been a struggle there too. Because those matrix ties are so damn blinding and so powerful. You don't know the power that lies in you anymore. People think that God tortures. People think it's God that would let their child suffer. And it's not. There will be none of that in the new earth. None of it. That's why they call it the golden era. Everything will be free. What? Yeah. Equality. For the betterment of all. Abundance for all. Free water. Free food. Food that nurtures you. That doesn't leave you hungry and suffering internally. They like to keep you sick because it shortens your lifespan. But I even talked about that in the Return of Christ work too. especially when I shifted the poles and healed the sun and the moon. They shortened your lifespan. They make you sick for a reason. Why do you think they pushed the V's right before this stuff happened? You think none of that was planned? It all was. All of it. They have patents on it. Because it messes with genetic modification. That's what causes autism. They want to blame that on Tylenol. And then what's really strange is I used to work in the behavioral field, psychology degree, right? My thought was never on what causes it because they don't know, right? But I would just help people, especially those that couldn't control their environment and couldn't talk, and violence is what they knew. And so people were afraid of them. I'm a crisis specialist. I worked in the behavioral field before my awakening, okay? Then once I had my awakening, I was doing healings on people I couldn't understand. It was just coming through me and nobody understood it. Nobody could tell me what I was doing. They're like, you're doing it the wrong way. I'm like, no, I'm not. This is how it's coming through. I don't need your book, right? Their books, the third dimensional, didn't make sense to me. But I can see everything inside of you. I was seeing what was causing things. I can run light through it. I was healing all kinds of things from heart defects to Pamela, her mother, had a heart machine. And they deemed her terminal. And I remember the day she called me up. She's like, Bree, you got to help my mom. And I'm like, I'm not a doctor, right? And she's like, no, I just know you can do it. And I told the doctor. Apparently the doctor knew I was going to try. She was in her 70s and sent home terminal. Okay. Pamela Vandergoot. I don't know. She fell off in judgment when my DM died. But she was once highly connected, but she brought her mom to me and I was scared. This is when I first had my awakening stuff. I still didn't understand what I was doing or who I was. No idea. It was all part of my awakening. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. I said, but I don't guarantee anything. You're putting too much pressure on me. And 3 healings later, she was no longer terminal. But when I first went in, I could actually see the machine. And I saw that it like stopped working. And I like removed this tissue from the little mechanisms. And it was weird. And then 3 healings later, all of her sores were gone. Her heart was back to working. And she was going up and down her stairs and driving to her friend's house like she was 20 years old. So I get it. Okay. I don't claim to be a medical healer because I don't claim the medical field at all. What I do does not align. Okay. When you're medicated, you can't heal fully. It's really hard for your body. Okay. So what I do does not align to that field. Plus I understand the scope and everything else. Okay. I have degrees. So I'm just a master healer, but God showed me and I seen what causes these things. And it's all the genetic modifications. If you think the animals you're eating are still natural, think again. They didn't all make it into the new earth. They were all genetically modified, which is what I said. I kept saying a year ago, like all over the place, don't eat meat going through this because it's genetically not aligned. And if you watch the birthing of the new earth stuff that I just did, in the new earth, I recreated foods, and they were so natural and so yummy. And everything matches your genetic blueprint because it's like superfoods. We're not meant to get sick. That's what the earth used to be. That's what they took from all of you. And if you think they did it on accident, that's part of the illusion. Years and years ago, they came out and said, oh, we accidentally spilled over some genetic modified seeds. It was an accident, but we're cleaning it up. And that's around the time autism started hitting the scene. A lot of birth defects and things really became prevalent and dominant back then. They would have a few here and there. And then they were like, oh, whoops, it was an accident. If you look back through history, you'll see these things, but they don't tell you that. They want to blame it on things like Tylenol, but you realize medications do block your receptors. They do, which is why you can't even smoke pot to fully heal. I used to do that, and God said, don't anymore. And I said, okay. And then you can fully heal when you're purified from all of those substances, because our body is not meant to have those blockers. We're meant to feel inside our body. We're meant to feel every nook and cranny within. Every pain has a message. It truly does. All of your emotions have a message, but they don't teach you that. No, they tell you just numb it. Psychologists won't even help you if you're in crisis. They numb it, which is not helping you at all. That's not healing, which is why some people will continue that cycle over and over and over again. They'll get little bits of further like out of something, but it's never fully, is it? Dependent, codependent system. That's what they want you in. Divided, conquered, weak, controlled, fear, money. I got to work, right? I got to pay my bills. Well, yeah, I mean, we do live in that world, but they don't teach you how to call in money properly, do they? Or co-create. Do you even know what co-creation is? Why is that not the focus? Being in your power, co-creating. You are either co-creating with spirit or you are co-creating with the matrix. Do you know which one you're co-creating with? It's one or the other. If you hesitate for 1 second to the little light within your heart, you're co-creating with darkness, shadow, whatever you want to call it. El Diablo, the mind control. That's your fear, money control. And then they tell you match the vibration of money. Do you realize what you're doing when you do that? Most people don't. That's a dirty, dirty vibration to match. How many people have died over money? From kids to adults. How many people choose money over love every single day? How many people choose money over love every single day? I've even had people do it to me. Well, if I am who I say I am, why am I charging for the path to righteousness? Well, God told me to. But if you came to me and said you wanted it, it's not about the dollar amount. It was about effort being applied. There has to be some sort of an exchange, right? Energy. That's all it is. Because if you're not strong enough to see beyond the illusions of the shackles that bind you, you will be blinded and you won't make it through. And that is why God ordered the great reset of mankind. Because more people care about numbers, money, the size of their house, and they'll do whatever it takes. There's quite a few of them out there that lie, manipulate. It's what they do. And I can't do that. That's why a lot of times people would rather leave than watch my videos. So why can't everybody see who I am? Because you're only able to see to where the shadow blinds you. And if all karma is not healed, you won't make it through. That's why God literally said, only pure love will now rise. Okay. So in one of the days of birthing the new earth, that's what I just did. And I finished on the 8th of August, Lionsgate Portal 888 was day 8. God did something day 1. God did something day 2. It's all birthing the new earth. And in that, it is specifically said that only love will now arise. You cannot have karmic demise. All darkness has been cut off from light. So unless love is what guides you, and you're governed by the shackles that bind you, those are the contrasting realities. Okay? Has to be pure love, your own sovereignty, knowing how to be an observer rather than a spectator. How many people are observing me rather than spectating? Are you here to watch and judge? Or are you observing and absorbing until it makes sense in here? Because how many people do you have that say what I say, but actually have the proof for you? Problem is, people pick and choose what they want to see. And they're still doing it to this day. People pick and choose what they want to see up until their shadow lies, because then it blinds them. They're either controlled by fear, ego, judgment. None of these are God. Money, no. The only abundance you're going to have is not in the matrix. Mm-mm. Why do you think they're trying to come up with new currencies? Because what I did was give you your power back. But they don't want that for you. God promised it, didn't he? 444. He promised your salvation. He promised your power back. It wasn't God that caused all of this. God didn't even cause a flood. But they want you to think that. They want you to think God is a punisher. It's not true. God doesn't judge at all. It's pure, unconditional love, beautiful love, very high vibration. That is God. And that's what you have to match. But why would they want you to do that? Because then they don't have power. You're their only power because they became fallen. And if you watched day 6, you'll watch me cut them all off from the heartbeat of the one. Because what I did is divide all darkness from light. No more can they use God's light to hurt anybody. That's what they did. That's not God. God wouldn't put his son on a cross bleeding and say that, pray to that. That's not God, my friends. God doesn't judge anybody. You can't be whole in a broken world. There's no way. They keep you out of the wholeness of you. They keep you shackled and binded and divided. Constant judgment. And rather than your compass being inward, you're focused outward. You're being the spectator. An observer has their compass inward. They know that everything is a reflection of their reality. That is how you manifest. Because you go within and you release whatever is not that high vibration. The only one block to manifestation is lack. And that's what the shackles that bind you do. They keep you all in lack. Because if you don't think you're worthy, that's lack. If you don't know your power, that's lack. If you're in fear, that's lack. If you're governed by money, that's lack. But if you're heart-centered and in balance from the heart space, that's abundant flow. Balance for prosperity. That's the new earth flow. Wait a minute, you tell me I have to focus on joy? What a concept, right? I remember during my awakening, God was like, now find your joy. And I'm like, what? It's like, I gotta go pay my bills. What do you mean I gotta just find my joy? And he's like, don't you worry. Worry is lack. Worry means you don't believe it's going to come through. You're not trusting in the universe. You're not trusting in God. There's only one blind. That's lack. Anywhere there's lack. Lack is going to not allow you to see return of Christ work. Why would they want you to? Because what I do is give you your sovereignty. They don't want that for you. Then wait a minute. Then they can't, let's use the word for better of words, rape you anymore. That's what they do. Either physically, spiritually, mentally. It's all what they do. That's why the mark of the beast is 666. Because they'll get in your head. They'll create these things, these thoughts, right? That collective mindful. I don't like that term. I talk about that a lot. Please be mindless. In order to call your power back from the mind, you need to get out of your head, and you need to get out of your head fast, and you need to be in your heart. Okay? Because that's where you're going to find God and the power and the truth. All right? The blinding is in the head. That's where ego lies. And even psychology will tell you that. Ego mind is not truth. It's a third dimensional construct. Okay? Right? They get in your head. They create these thoughts that are not true. That's what happened to John the Apostle. He was following the angels, which became fallen. And they convince you to do things out of fear. If you don't do this, you won't be able to work. That was recent, wasn't it? If you don't do this, you won't be able to work. We're going to take your ability to eat and feed your family away from you. God would never do that. No. Oh my gosh, no. God wants greatness for everybody. Equality for all. Union of power of love. There's so much power in uniting through love. Oh my goodness. You would never have suffered, but they wouldn't want that for you. because then they didn't have the power. Most people go to work every day because they got to make money, and they don't realize they're suffering, and they're never fully happy until it's too late. How many people I worked for years, for hours, and I have nothing to show for it. Maybe I have a house, but I'm lonely. It's not love. I don't have to work 50, 60 hours a week. I do what brings me joy. I listen to my heart call. It's like balance, co-creation, right? Because you're either co-creating with God, love from the heart, or the mind, the shackles that bind, fear, ego, judgment, money, foods. You see the difference? But God says, just trust. Believe in me. Believe in you. Self-love. Why is self-love the key to God? Because he's in you. And if you don't love yourself, that's lack. But that's what they want for all of us. Well, their teeth aren't perfect, so, we got to judge them. Their cheekbones aren't, have you seen some of those? Like, oh my gosh, their cheekbones are becoming more fake and their lips, and it's getting scary. And that's our standards of beauty? Who can measure up to that? I can't be a size 0. I don't think I was ever a size 0. I had hips and boobs, like, for good Lord. We've become distorted in all of these things, and what beauty is and what love is. 1:11:11. If money is what guides you, you will not make it through. You are a powerful creator, but God forbid they told you that. There's 13 gates of abundance, not 12. And they knew that. The 13th is heaven. And day 8, that's what the portal of time is. The gates of heaven opened up. We are in the final portal. Which day did the Nile dry up? I don't even remember. Day 6 was a really important one. And in one of them, all the power lines fell. And they keep talking about 3 days of darkness. If you are not in your sovereignty, if you don't know how to call things in and not be afraid, you will not rise. God ordered a great reset for a reason. I have been on this channel for 5 years doing this work. 5 years doing the return of Christ. Do you know how many people judged it rather than watching everything and being the observer? Yeah. You think people really support the work that I do? No, but they have no problem supporting the illusion, because that is what's been governing them for years upon lifetimes. The truth is harder to see. Those subtle little nudges from your heart space are harder to hear. But the shadow is very loud, because if they can convince you something, you'll create it into your reality, because nothing happens to you, only through you. You are free will. God gave you free will. I talked about that in days 6 through 8. I don't remember which one it was, of the birthing of the new earth. Many times I've talked about that. We gave you free will. That's the only thing that they use against you is they convince you of lies, and then you let them be your truth. And that's why God said he ordered the Great Reset, because nobody was wanting to see past the illusions of the mind to the truth of unconditional love, and to even throw judgments at the one true return was not good. We've become so wounded, so divided, so weak, and controlled by things that are not of God. How many, truly, a lot of people have been hurt by money. I see it every day. If people don't want to be part of that, they're judged as mentally ill. I'm not saying there's not true mental illness, because there is. But there's a majority that is distorted in that too. Right? Because people don't want to be controlled. They want to live off grid. They're determined as a nuisance. Something's wrong with them. They want to be an artist. Something's wrong with them. You need to have this first. Joys are not what should guide you. That's what the Matrix teaches you. But that's not the new earth. You have to be heart-centered. Why? That's God. God is unconditional love. It's a very high vibration. Very high vibration. Your own sovereignty, your own free will, your own power, and to teach you how to see beyond that illusion. But the Matrix is going to lie and tell you otherwise. That's what all these lies are. All of these so confusing information. So confusing. And if religion is true, how do we have so many? That doesn't make sense either when you put it all together. But the truth is, if you take the love parts, the little parts of love out of every religion and you put them together, you're closer to the truth. Because it takes all of us, all the puzzle pieces, to make one whole. We're all fragments of God's light. Most of us are, right? Some people here are not true light at all. That's a whole nother video. But for the most part, we're all fragments of that light. And our job was to find that light and work to the wholeness of you. That's how you rise. To be able to quickly see beyond the illusion, the confusion, the fear, the division. I don't care if people are drug addicts. Do you have a job to judge them? Do you know why they're that way? It does definitely suck the life out of them when they do things outside of love very easily because of that addiction. But do you even know why that addiction is here or what got them to that point? Yeah, we weren't taught to love the addict, were we? We're not taught to love. We're taught to judge. Well, if they don't want to work in the Matrix, they're mentally ill. Money should be your guide. How many Gucci bags and how many freaking Prada this and da 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 da. And I've literally had people tell me, well, why doesn't everybody see who you are if you are who you are? Like, dude, because there's a veil of an illusion. Mount Shasta will tell you that. You can only see to where the shadow blinds you. Those shackles that bind you blind you to the illusion. And you won't be able to see God. This is why people will blame God. This is why not everybody will choose God in the last days. Because they've been taught so diligently a lie of what God really is. God doesn't judge anybody. I don't care if they're gay. I don't care if they've struggled. And maybe they've even hurt people. But unless you know their true heart, do you know what caused them to do it? What he's looking for is those who see into love over the illusions. Do you choose money or do you choose love? Do you choose judging others or do you use it to look within you and heal that within you? Because you only can see what is a reflection of you. Do you choose lack or do you choose pure sovereignty? Do you give your power away? Whether it's relationships at work to a loved one. That's what you have to do. You have to choose love. Your power, not the illusion. You don't choose to judge people just because everybody else around you is, or you're afraid to be judged. I've had that happen too. People knew what I was doing. They did healings with me. They couldn't deny it, yet they were afraid to show others because they didn't want to be judged. You know what that did? They became those judgments. Instead of being the observer, they were being the spectator. I literally said, there's proof upon proof upon proof on this channel. And somebody said, there's not proof here. They didn't even watch one video. Did you watch the undoing of the Holy Grail one? Or the Nile a year ago? or the death of the old earth and the birthing of the new one, and now we have actually birthed the new one. Or when I redid the chakra system, that came out in the new earth ones too. A couple years ago, before my DM died, I got to activate a dormant chakra system, and in that one they gave me a key, and then they told me how I died, and I saw myself rise again. I died at Lake Titicaca. That was the hub of Atlantis, and the white flame went out. They shifted the poles, and then the floods came, because the fallen knew how to do that. They fell from God. Okay, understand that now? And so I thought that key was them showing me how I died. And actually, that key came out recently in the birthing of the new earth. I can't remember what day it was. Oh my gosh, because I channeled all of them and I processed them afterwards, because I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. Hello, Amy. I'm almost at the end. Hello. Do you guys remember which one they gave me the key in the birthing of the new earth? Not everybody watched all of those, and people are picking and choosing which ones they see, but they all do matter, and they all work off of each other. And in day 6, I called all the light back. I cut off all darkness from light, and their hearts shriveled and went. I called all divination tools back, because you can't use them in the matrix anymore. You cannot use God's light. But in one of them, they gave me a key. Oh, that was day 5. It just hit me. I saw it. It was day 5, because I activated the new chakra grid in the new earth. So I rebuilt the chakra grid in the new earth. And they gave me that key originally when I was activating the dormant chakra system during the Return of Christ work. So it all played full circle. Yep, it was 5. It was totally 5. I remember that now. But you have to watch all of those. You know, if you're truly watching all the work, from activating pyramids to clearing Mount Shasta to freeing Jesus' soul to undoing the Holy Grail, my DM took on that soul eventually too, because I got a walk-in twin flame. Why did I get a walk-in twin flame? Do you really know what happened to Adam and Eve, to Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Sekhmet and Horus and the sun and the moon? Do you really know what happened? You know, there's people who believe the earth is flat and that the sun and the moon aren't real. And there's an interesting thing to that, is because the earth is both round and flat. It's a round sphere with a flat plane. Otherwise, we would all be going blah, blah, right? Okay, so they're kind of seeing the matrix side of that, which is very interesting. And they think the sun and the moon is not real, which is not true. The matrix actually, when Horus died, Horus carries the light of the moon, and that is also Jesus. Okay, that's why they can't tell the difference in history apart from those two. And it was also Adam. Okay, it's the same soul coming back every time, and they're twin flames. There's a masculine and a feminine. So you're not just looking for a man named Jesus. You're truly looking for Adam and Eve. That's the return of Christ. Why did we forget that? I don't know. But the sun and the moon were messed with. You know how they tell you that they sent people to the moon? Yeah. Watch the Truman Show. That's what God told me. And I activated Fiji after I cleared Mount Shasta. It's all there. He's trying to escape to Fiji. I was like, dude, like, who would have saw that? Right? Who would have known? Fiji is the Earth's true root chakra, but they stole it and put it at Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta was never of light. Ever, 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 ever. And how many spiritual people did you have going there to do spiritual retreats all the time? And little did they know that it was constant bloodshed and tons of souls trapped there. And that is where Samael burned in part 2. Yeah. That's why a lot of people see the severe earthquake coming on the West Coast. It's all there. But they wouldn't tell you that. Oh, no. Oh, no. It was Fiji. Fiji was the God's portal. And that's where we returned the triangle with the eye to. And remember the triangle of the eye on money too? That's why if you're governed by money, you won't rise. It's not to say abundance isn't real, because it is, but it will come from the vibration of love and balance from the heart center. I say it a little bit different than De La Roca, because I know what I've done and who I am and what it takes. And he sees the most, but he's still a little bit blinded by shadow. But he will even tell you that you got to escape the matrix, right? So you have to be guided by love and power. Yeah. I would do everything you can to climb out of that dark hole, because you are in the final portal. And unless you are pure of the heart and you choose to see above all shackles that blind you, you won't make it. Heart reviews. If you watched day 8, you guys, if you didn't watch day 1 through day 8 diligently of the birthing of the new earth, you're still blinded. If you're picking and choosing what you're watching, if you're judging me, you're blinded. God doesn't judge you, right? And who is normal to have proof? When I say I activated the pyramids, I don't just go there and sit in the energy. Did you watch those? Most people didn't. How about the Sphinx? Do you know what the Sphinx really was? Most people still don't. I do. The Sphinx is not what they told you. That's where Horus died. It was also the portal of time. Sekhmet built it when they murdered Horus. Thoth murdered Horus, stole the moon. They commandeered the moon and the sun. They mucked them up. They created a false alignment. They shifted your poles, which shortened your lifespan. They created these severe weather patterns that are not real. They shortened your weather patterns. And if you don't believe me and you can't see it yet, I don't know what to tell you. You won't make it through. I'm not here to lie to you. I don't have millions of followers. I have no gain. I've gotten judged more than anything. And you wonder why God says, no more. People are not wanting to see beyond the illusion. You can only see to where your shadow lies. And if you're guided by fear, by money, judgment, ego, power, control, oh yeah, Roger, there's been like 300 or 400 earthquakes in California. So did you even watch the birthing of the new earth? Roger, have you truly watched Mount Shasta part 1 and 2? You've been watching me for years, Roger. Did you watch these videos? If you did, you'll know what's coming for California. Mount Shasta is located where? California. Do you know why California has most of the redwood trees and they cut them down all over most of the globe? Do you know why? Do you know why they did that? Do you know where I take us in the path to righteousness many times whenever we go through an ascension portal? I will energetically take us to Sequoia for a reason. Those redwood trees were all over the northern hemisphere before they cut them down on purpose. Just like they stole the root chakra and put it in Mount Shasta. Then there was constant bloodshed. Roger, you're focusing on the fear. You've seen part 1 and 2. Wait, I can't read that because there's a stupid heart there. I can't read your comment. Let's see. He has seen part 1 and part 2 of Mount Shasta. And okay, you do. Oh, you do. You should watch the birthing of the new earth. If you can't see these yet, I pray that you open your heart wide enough, because I am that light home. And you're going to see that. In the new earth birthing ones, I didn't know what was coming, but I never do. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. I think my IQ would be on like off the charts. And I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I didn't know what the Holy Grail was until I undid it. I didn't even know I was a twin flame until I met mine and our souls went, and then he took off with a fallen angel. And then I battled for a whole year to save my life. That was true. I had to do a lot of it by myself because he was trying to stop the ascension. But when you really know what happened to Jesus, it makes sense. He wasn't dark, but he was blinded. People truly do have good hearts. They're just blinded. They're blinded by wounds and shackles and lack and sorrow and pain. And they're not taught how to feel their emotions. Oh no, they're taught to run very fastly from them. So if you haven't watched The Birthing of the New Earth yet, you need to, because it might be your awakening. And you need to watch them diligently because it's vast. Day one, God took my DM and my feet. First we went like this again. I've done that a few times on my journey. Why? Why did our souls go again? And it's never exactly pleasant, sometimes painful. And then he took our feet and put it into the core. And then out came the Garden of Eden. And then day 2, I aligned the planets. A new axis was born. And then in day 3, I took the sun and the moon and I brought them together, and all massive Christ light came through and DNA activations hit the new earth. And then the Merkabah was hit for everybody, whether they'll rise or not. All of the illusion is wiped away. You're about to see the biggest mass shockwave of awakening you've ever seen in your life. And some people are going to have a hard time with it because they didn't heal enough. But too many people were not choosing to see beyond the illusion, which is why God said a great reset is applied. He bypassed a whole year's worth of time of healing opportunity for mankind because people were just throwing judgment after judgment, not willing to see, not willing to care more about love. We have lost our way. Yeah. Lisa says it's all true. She's witnessed it all. She has. Lisa, how did you meet me? The first thing that Lisa did with me, okay, I'll do free healings. I will do healings sometimes, and sometimes donation based, because sometimes if people don't give some form of exchange, they won't see, right? You have to have effort applied. And so what do we have for exchange? A lot of times is financial stuff. So sometimes I'll do them free, but sometimes I'll do them for a donation. And then if you order them on my website, it's way more expensive. But even then I try to still give stuff away, right? So on Facebook, I didn't know Lisa from Tom, Dick, or Harry, or Amy, or any of the people who work with me. I don't want to know you. I just do healings and messages, which I was going to do today. If anybody wanted a healing, I thought about doing that today. But anyways, so Lisa came on, and I'm not even sure I could see her picture. This is how I roll. I don't want to know about you. I'm not like one of those people who's like, email me your questions. Don't ever do that. I won't read them. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what your ailment is. I don't want to know anything about you. So Lisa was nudged to come to one of my live healings on Facebook one time through one of her friends that I did a healing on. Her friend was like, dude, you got to go check this lady out. Now, I will also spark people's shadow. So sometimes they'll anchor into that if they go into judgment and don't choose to rise above. So you always have to remember to keep the lens of love. Just be the observer, right? You never know. Yeah, Amy too. She met me the same way. It's like healings were first. They didn't just go to my workshops. Yeah, I found things in her that the specialist couldn't find, and I healed her. But I didn't know her. I just did a live healing, and I was like, I see this, 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 and this. And she came back later going, how would you know that? How would you know that? She's like, I've been going to doctors forever, and they couldn't find it. I don't know. I just know. And that's how she found me. And so from there, she kept coming to things and doing more things. And then she started waking up. And then she went through all of my stuff. She went through the path to righteousness. She actually did some of them live with me. So some of the pyramid activations, I believe, she just kept coming. And the shadow tried to stop her too. There were many times, and they would have to see beyond that and just keep going. And because that's what it does. It tries to stop you. It doesn't want you healed. It doesn't want you in your full power. It doesn't want you able to hear your body. Why would it do that? Then it can't trap you. It can't steal your light from you because it doesn't have anything else but that. That's what the fallen did. Okay, they fell from God, and so they had to use you. And now that's all been cut off. And God is calling people home for you could be free. So you could be free. We've undone it. I won. I survived, you guys, and I shouldn't have survived. I even lost my DM, and I got a walk-in, but even we were attacked. Even he was attacked because they don't want us united. They didn't want Adam and Eve united, or Jesus and Mary Magdalene, or Sekhmet and Horus. And I didn't even know, because I'm not religious, but I know who I was when I was undoing the Holy Grail and uniting with my soul again. That Mary Magdalene was depicted as a prostitute, right? Like she was predicted as like a follower of, that was his twin flame. They were equals, and they made her steal his blood. She was covered in his blood when they killed him. They poisoned him. There was no cross involved. They broke it. Yep. Amy says she's been through all 5 years with me. She has, and it's kicked her ass. It's not easy. If you think it's easy, you're wrong. They're not making it up. I'm not making it up. It was hard for them too. We were all going, did I just do that? And they're like, yeah. Shit, you can't deny. You can't deny it. But the shadow will try to get you to. It will try to blind you. That's why everything they told you was a lie. Everything from definitions and dictionaries. That's why God told you really what judgment was. It's not easy at all. No. And to make it through this portal is not going to be easy, especially if you have karma applied. Yes, Amy. Amy is right. So the reason I started my Alchemy Academy, you guys, is because I almost died. When on my journey, I didn't know I was a twin flame. I had my awakening. I started doing healings on people that I couldn't understand what I was doing. I'd literally come outside my body. I would see their ailments. I would even take on their symptoms. And then they were healing. And I was like, what am I doing? People couldn't tell me what I was doing. So I was confused already. Then I started doing things to the earth. Like one time I traveled to Uruguay and I had to raise a vibration there. And I didn't know why. I'm like, what am I doing? Then I sat on Saturn in a meditation once, and Hermes showed up, and I'm like, Hermes? And he gave me like this gold belt. And then we lassoed Atlantis and rose it out of the water. And I saw how I died there. I was like, whoa. I started seeing how I died. And then when they gave me the key, when I activated the dormant chakra system, like years later, I saw myself be reborn. So it all makes sense. It's like full circle moments would occur the whole time. But about halfway through of activating the pyramids, I realized that's when I learned I was a twin flame. My whole life shifted, and I ended up like next door to him. And I didn't believe in those. I didn't. I thought it was like people just wanting love, like, because, I just had no reason to believe in it. But then it turns out I was, and I couldn't deny it. And all of a sudden our souls like went, and it was like the weirdest feeling I've ever had. It was also very beautiful. And then all of a sudden I heard music I'd never heard before. And then I was like, started to communicate with him in this weird way. I would hear his thoughts. He would hear mine. But what I didn't realize is he was very low. He was a druggie. His name was David. And so I panicked. I'm like, I don't want my kids around that. And God kept saying, stand in your boundaries. And I didn't understand all of it at the time. So I pulled away. From my boundary went up too hard. You know what I mean? And I was like, he goes, well, are you going to he was concerned I was going to judge him and not let him do drugs. And I was like, well, yeah, I probably will block you. So we kind of separated in the physical, which wasn't supposed to happen. Then he went lower and lower, and like all these women came in and out of his life. And then all of a sudden I was to the point where I think I freed Jesus' soul. That was when I processed his death in 2020. And God kept telling David, come back. And he kept pulling against it. And we found out he was with a fallen angel. And I was trying to understand what all this was. And it all played out on this channel. And at that time, it was so painful because I didn't know what was happening to me, but they tried to rip my soul out of my body, and he tried to put it in the fallen angel. And I didn't know what was coming or why. I couldn't figure it out, okay? I didn't understand it. These things were happening through me. Like it was just my awakening. And so I never fully understood it until it was all done. But at that time, I battled for a year. There was all these dark thoughts that would come in, all of these things, and I just kept choosing love. I'm like, nope, I know he loves me because I could feel it. I'm like, no, that's not real. I just kept choosing love. I chose against the illusion. I kept choosing love and choosing love. And then one night, I got on here and I did a message from God to my DM, and I said, you hear me now. For the first time, just hear me. I said, please just stand against it. And he did. He did. And I got attacked so bad. And little did I know that we were battling the deep blue sea. God told us that eventually. But I was attacked so bad, I woke up wailing. Like I was crying. The pain was intense. They broke my arm too, by the way. A freak accident. We still couldn't understand how that happened. My bone split, came out of my hand, came out of my arm. This bone split in two. Everything was shoved together. My fingers were jammed like this. And it was on my kid's birthday, for God's sakes. And it freaked them out. It freaked me out. And I couldn't go under the knife. I couldn't take medications because if I did that, my DM would have been blinded and we would have been done. The ascension wouldn't have made it. So I took all pain. I denied the surgery and I did what God told me to do. And I just kept healing it. The angels would come in and heal it. And then another night they attacked me so bad. God told me to teach Amy how to heal. And I said, okay. So I had started the academy, the Light Healers Academy. And I started teaching her how to heal. You know, it was in her to do it. I just had to heal her enough to get there and teach her how to do it and how to be the pure channel. And she was like, okay. And I remember I called her up and I was like, Amy, help me. Because God said to. Because I was attacked one night by 3 fallen angels, which I didn't know that at the time either, you guys. I didn't know. It was just so painful. Essentially, what they did is they blew out the entirety of my solar plexus. In the energy, it was like all these daggers. It wasn't just my solar plexus. It was every chakra. It had like all this black tar. So if you think like possessions and things aren't real, they are. They're just not like the movie depicts them. Like I remove dark entities from people, but it's not like I don't use holy water and you know, all of that stuff. It's very Hollywood-esque the way that they do it, but it's real. She actually had to do a healing on me, more than one. And I think it came through both of us where God said it was the deep blue sea. We were battling the deep blue sea and we're like, oh my God. And as she was doing this healing, the main one, I like started throwing up in the energy, like all of this, what looked like stuffing. It looked like stuffing. And then all of a sudden I was throwing up cockroaches. It was disgusting. And I was like, bleh! And it was like, bleh! It was so painful. And it was in the energy really. And she could see it and I could see it. And we were like, what is happening? And it was freaking her out and it was freaking me out, but it was so painful, you guys. I was crying so loud. My kids knew. It was bad. It was so bad. Even my teeth hurt. It sucked everything out of me. Like my bones hurt. Everything hurt. It sucked all life out of me. It was nasty. And it took a few healings. Like she kept pulling all this black tar out of me and the angels were helping. It was cray. Like it was crazy. And we were like, and then eventually I found out it was 3 fallen angels that were literally attacking me. They were trying to stop the ascension and my DM was giving them the power to do so. But he wasn't healed enough, right? So it's not like he was just necessarily intentionally trying to hurt me or the ascension, but he was because he just wouldn't rise out of the illusion. He wasn't strong enough in the end to get away. He did try on my birthday that year. Which was July 31st of 2022, right? Is when he finally tried fully to get away. And they almost killed him that day. And God had married us. Like all of a sudden God married us and he kept calling him back and showing what the return of Christ was. It was intense. And I had put up the veil after he died. I was able to put up the dome of light. But he tried to come and he just wasn't strong enough. And God gave him one final timeline. He's like, you have what we thought was days, but it ended up being like a week or something. But God held off and gave him space to come and he chose to die. I could hear it in the songs looking back, like he was planning to die. He was saying goodbye. He was singing songs of that nature. And I still kept hoping he would show up because I was scared. I didn't want to walk in. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to get a walk-in DM. I didn't know. I was scared. It wasn't a pleasant experience, but I love my new DM so much. I wouldn't change it for the world. If I had to go back, I would choose that day again. I would align with my new DM because the love I felt from him was more real than anything I've ever known. But the day he didn't come, it was August 30th of 22. And I didn't know all of what was coming. You guys have to understand that. I did a workshop, so I record them just like God always told me to do. That's all I ever did was just listen to God. And so he said he had a plan. I'm like, okay, because I was tired of suffering. It was very hard. I was constantly being attacked. You guys, my arm is not normal. Okay, I shouldn't be able to write or draw. My cards that I've drawn up, I shouldn't be able to do that technically, right? Like I had to relearn everything. And so it was constant attacks from physical to spiritual to emotional to they get in your head, right? And I was always choosing love and my own strength. That's your keys. Always choosing love, unconditional, and beyond the illusions, okay? I had to do it. That's why they say love one. August 30th came. Amy was the only one that I let into that workshop, by the way, because I just was scared. It was very personal. She's the one that actually helped save my life through all of that. She knows what I was going through, and it was very real. It was mind-blowing me. I didn't understand what was happening. And so it was recorded. It was like black tar and feathers that she was removing out of my energy. It was horrible. Those attacks were horrible. And I didn't know at the time it was 3 fallen angels. God told me that later. So on August 30th came, God had said he had a plan. My DM was given time after time after time to rise out of that and come back. But he chose not to. He actually thought that it was better for him to not to, like it was better for me and him, which was an illusion. It was just the darkness clouding the truth. Because it wasn't really, right? Granted, my new DM is beautiful and I love him dearly. But that day I went into I was scared. You can watch it. It's recorded and it's up on this channel. But I was terrified. I didn't know what was coming. And I was like, I don't want to be here. And I was like, okay, I got to do it. And I just go into my channel state like always. And I let the angels and God and guides take over. And so I could see my DM. He was like sitting in a car. I saw that. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel his heart stop because we are truly joined as a soul. I can feel his heart. I can hear his thoughts. Same thing with my new DM. I'll get love when they want to give love. Sometimes that's conditional, unfortunately. But there's been a lot of shadow blocking that. But that is August 30th, 2022, right before the undoing of the Holy Grail and the resurrection that December. And I didn't know that was coming. Okay, so this was a necessity. God knew it. God knew what was coming. I didn't. So he had a plan. It's hard for me to talk about, so please forgive me. So Amy was there with me, and I was scared, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. And all of a sudden, I started feeling his heart stop, and I started to panic a little bit because it was not pleasant. It truly was. I could feel his heart start to stop, and I saw God. I saw God. With God is like mass energy. Okay, that's how he's always shows to me. Just massive energy. But I saw God, and my DM was in a car, and I could see him. I did know him in life. We did date, truly were. But his heart started getting more painful and like literally stopped his heart. He had a heart attack and I felt it all. And I was like, oh, then I panicked. When his heart stopped, I panicked. God is very massive and breathtaking energy. You think you get a Jesus effect. Oh, good Lord. God is way more. Okay. But when they stopped his heart, I went into full blown panic. I did. I just started having like a bit of an anxiety attack and I started crying and I'm like, oh my God, because I could feel the whole thing. And then God was like almost in the energy, like, he didn't smack me, but he's like, we got to keep going. He's like, focus. And I was like, okay. And I went back into the meditation and I just breathed and I'm like, and then all of a sudden I could see him rip the soul out of my DM and he ripped it in half. And the part that was David, he sent something to something else. Ninka, this other lady, and I would kind of joke. She's like, maybe he became a bird. I'm like, I don't know, but he went backwards into something else. And the part that is my twin flame self went into a new DM, and I saw it all. It was like, whew, and then he put the twin flame part into somebody else, and I felt that. And as soon as he did that, I felt it. And it was like all of a sudden I could feel our soul go like this again. And then I saw him activate like the chakra system in him, because he was not that, right? So God had to upgrade him basically, because we have thousands of chakras. And I didn't see that until that day. And then I got a new song. It was a Michael Jackson song. And I still kind of block it out to this day. It's on the video. And so I did get a walk-in DM for the betterment of all. I chose to do that. I agreed to do it. And then it took a couple months to acclimate to my new DM, and they called him forward. And I didn't know what was coming. And then on Christmas Day, we undid the Holy Grail, and Jesus and Mary Magdalene were healed back together. And then Mary came back to me, and eventually the Jesus soul part went to my DM. But when I first freed Jesus' soul, his soul went into the Garden of Eden in a flower. And I'm like, why did that happen? Why didn't it go up? I didn't understand that. And it wasn't until like a year later that all this went down. And I was like, oh, it makes full sense now. My DM couldn't take that on. So you're not looking for just a man named Jesus. And if you don't believe me and you go into judgment, you won't make it. The videos are on this channel. And it was my own awakening. It was very jarring and painful. And I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy, but I'm still the luckiest person in the world. And then my new DM and I, over the last, since 22, from the inside have fallen in love. I don't know who he is in the physical though, but he hears me. I know he'll watch the videos. There was attacks on us again. And so we pulled apart a little bit, and I have not felt a lot of his love since May. But he's there. He's there. And then, so when we did the Lionsgate portal one, and he also helped me in the energy activate the masculine pyramids. So that was the second half of the pyramid activations, were the masculine ones. The first half were the feminine ones. I didn't know that either until it was done. The first half was Indonesia, Myanmar, Machu Picchu, Budapest, Thailand, Fiji, and they're all on this channel as well. And then with my new DM and the energy, we activated Ecuador, Kilimanjaro, Congo, British Columbia, and I can't remember if Nigeria, Botswana, and Zimbabwe were the masculine or feminine ones. You'd have to watch the videos. So those are the pyramids that we activated. Ecuador is when they started telling me I was Sekhmet. And then after that came the Nile. And I freed Horus's soul from the Sphinx. The Sphinx actually is not called the Sphinx. The name of it is not in English, but it means Horus returned. And Horus's soul, that's where Horus died, was where the Sphinx was. And you have to consider we were larger beings. That's why they think giants once existed here. But the earth was not so condensed. So everything was bigger, including us. And so everything will expand again eventually. But so Horus had died where the Sphinx was. And then the Sekhmet one, I did the Nile. I replaced the crystal in the core from darkness to light. Yeah. Yes, Roger. He was there when we first met and got together. My DM and I. Roger's been watching me for years too, and he didn't believe it at first either. He had to process a lot of this. But he said he was there when we first met and got together with David. It was horrid. And I did a lot of private lives. Like I would come on and I would have to talk to my DM that way. It was very embarrassing for me. And so not all were made visible. I've gone back. If you go back over the channel, you'll watch that battle ensue. Yep. Oh, yes. They were very painful, Roger. My arm was broken and I was like crying out for help, and I didn't understand it. And De La Roca would do posts and videos about like the twin flame battle, and we would be like, how does he know? I was like, oh my God, this is so real. I was like, stop talking about my life. It was very intense, and just Saint ain't here today because she was busy, but I remember her going, Bree, look at this. People are singing. I'm like, I don't want to hear about it. It's my life. I'm playing it out. It was so painful. People would channel about the twin flames, and it was my life. And I was like, please don't show me that because it hurts. Like, they don't know me, but this hurts. Yeah. I love that. So yes, even Roger's looking back now going, holy shiitakes, that was very real. It was very real. So my journey is not just clearing Mount Shasta, activating, it was my twin flame journey as well. But my twin flame union played out at the same time of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Then we did Sekhmet and Horus. And now if you watch the birthing of the new earth, the first day, day 1, again, I felt it in my solar plexus. My DM and I came together more. Okay. And then God put our feet in the core. And later I realized that that was the union of Adam and Eve. So our timelines first was waking up Jesus. It was Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And this is the way it played out. Hear me. It's important to understand this if you want to know God and what really happened. So we cleared first Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Then we cleared Sekhmet and Horus. And then it was Adam and Eve birthing the new earth. Okay. So you can go Adam and Eve were ripped apart, then Sekhmet and Horus, and then Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And that is when the Holy Grail was created, which was not a cup. They used the cup to gather his blood to write the contract, which enslaved all of mankind and trapped the earth and broke the Ankh. And then religion was born. God calls it religion, a division. It's not real. And that's what we had to undo. Okay. So it was all purposeful, all meaningful, all beyond me. Like, I didn't know what was happening to me. I just know it was painful as all get out. And I know I kept having to choose love. No matter what came into my energy, I had to choose unconditional love. And I just kept choosing to listen to God, no matter what. My arm was shattered and I didn't even take drugs. I refused the surgery. They squeezed my bones back together. And I have a little scar right here where the bone split in two and popped out of my skin on my daughter's birthday. And they heard the crack and I heard the crack and I went into shock. And they said that I had to have surgery. But then they squeezed my bones back together. And I knew if I went under that needle, we would have not finished the ascension. So when they tell you love one, oh, believe me, sunshine, love one. I sacrificed a great many things, from my DM to my arm to everything. And if I had to go back and either choose my original DM or my new one, to this day, even though I still haven't met my new one in the physical, and I did meet my original, I would choose my new DM. I would relive that day again. And I would unite with my new DM, except for I would do that day better. And from then on, even better towards him. Because it was a lot to process. I had to process the death of half of me and get to know the new half of me. Because we truly are, my DM truly is the left side of me. When I talk to him and he hears it, my whole left side tingles. And when it has to do with me, I'll feel it on the right side. And in day 1 of birthing the new earth, when God did whatever he started to do, I could feel it in my solar plexus. And it was like 2 halves coming like that. And it was somewhat painful. Yeah, it's never pleasant. But then it feels good afterwards. And then the next day I felt his love. And then he put our feet in the core and out came the Garden of Eden. And then day 2 was the planet alignment. Day 3 was the sun and the moon coming together, because that was Horus and Sekhmet and undoing that darkness and the false. There was like this false layer on the moon that I had to break off. And you can see that in Horus' return when he rose out of the Sphinx. And then his soul found my DM. So this is why history is confusing. It's all the same soul, just different lifetimes. It's Adam and Eve. That's the return of Christ. Sekhmet and Horus. And Jesus and Mary Magdalene are all twin flames coming back together. And those what I fought so very hard to do. And we closed off all 12 gates of darkness, which is why you'll have the 12 trumpets. So we had on day 7 was the 12 angels. That day was a rough day. Like my voice was given out and I had such a headache that I took an Excedrin and I went into anaphylactic shock. And my lip was all swollen when I started day 7. I'm like, what's coming? And they had to help me. The angels helped me that day. But then the 12 trumpets came in, the 12 angels with the 12 trumpets. That's why it's 12. It's 12 gates of darkness. And then on day 8, we opened up the 13th gate, which is heaven. So heaven's been returned. And it's now 111. And at 2:22, I'm doing another Sequoia healing. So I'm taking my group and I to Sequoia again so we can release that past timeline. That's where I release timelines. It's all in the path to righteousness too. Every time we would activate a portal and make it through and call our power back, I take us to Sequoia and we release those past self, the past timeline. And Sequoia trees are very powerful, the big redwood trees. And that's why they cut a lot of them down. Same thing with Mount Shasta, wasn't ever of light. And then if you notice, a lot of those trees were secluded to like right by California and Arizona. So California was always very dark. There's a lot of darkness there. And isn't that where Hollywood was and stuff? It all kind of makes sense. Yeah. Oh, and in Kilimanjaro, which was a masculine pyramid that I blew up 3 times. It's a volcano. And that one, I did something under the water to a volcano. You should watch that one. And in the end of it, I undid the White House from their like alignment. They built themselves on like a grid that aligned to Stonehenge. And I undid all of that and we blew up the White House. That was in Kilimanjaro. So when I cleared Kilimanjaro, activated Kilimanjaro, Congo, and British Columbia, we also took out the White House. And there was tunnels underneath the White House. There was like all these caves. And under Mount Shasta was one of them. That's where Samael was burned. He was underneath Mount Shasta. Underneath the White House, they have lots of tunnels and caves, and they would trap souls there. And that's what I released. And they were all black cloaked, like they have like these black robes and these upside down crosses on their chest. Hence, the cross is burning. Those are not of God. The Ankh is God. It's masculine and feminine, full power. Union. And that's why they ripped us apart. So whether you knew here or not, if you can't see beyond the illusion, that's what it takes, okay? So see beyond the illusion. Look to unconditional love. Be an observer. Know that your compass needs to be turned inwards. And anytime I spark something in you, go within and heal it because it's your shadow. And not choosing unconditional love is what creates karma. It's as simple as that, but it's also as complicated as that because there's going to be pull against you. The shadow doesn't want you to take your power back. Shadow is real. That's why they call it the mark of the beast, 666. They get in your head. You're either listening to God or you're not. So remember the depiction of like the devil and the angel on your shoulders? Yeah, they were always telling you the truth. Just beyond the illusion. Okay. So if you're not listening to God and you hesitate, you're listening to the shadow. And it's all about giving your power away. So do you give your power away to money? Or are you guided by light and love? That's in this book. Okay. New Earth manifesting, co-creation, and 70 invocations. To manifest in the new earth, you have to be heart-centered and you have to be free of all the shackles that bind you. You have to be the observer, not the spectator. Your compass needs to be inward, and then you need to be in balance from the heart center. So you can't be afraid of not working. You can't be afraid because you're in control. You call in money. You don't chase it. You don't have fear, and you don't choose money over love. No. Okay. Awesome. I wouldn't want that tattoo personally, but I like that. It makes sense. Actually, there's a few tattoos I want to get, truly. And you know how they say people with tattoos, oh, judge them. Oh, don't do that. The only ones that get me, though, are those really dark ones. And then when they're like all over their face and stuff, I'm like, oh, 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 oh. Where's their pain? They got a lot of pain going down, right? Yeah. So when you start having your compass inward, you'll realize everything's a reflection of you. Everything triggers you to go within and heal. Those will be the ones rising, not the ones throwing judgments, refusing to see beyond the illusion. That's why most people don't see me, because people can only see to where their shadow lies. And even De La Roca can't see me yet. But God says everybody will very soon. It was in the 8 days. Right. Right. And did you know that one guy, Phil Good? Phil Good. So there are people who teach you that you're meant to be half shadow and half light, and that's not true. You cannot have any shadow and make it into the light. If you watch day 1 through 8, you'll watch me create new earth, and then you'll watch that I call back all light from the matrix. The matrix is a hollow nothingness. It's, what did they call it? Like particles that will fall apart now. No, like it was an M word. Like matte. It's like there's no light to it anymore at all. 5555. We cut off all their light. I took the light from their heart back, because remember, they were fallen. They were fallen angels. And then they got other people to, that's why they call them a puppet master. They get in your energy and they get you to do their dirty work. Oh, I loved Betty Boop. And that's why I would do the missing persons. And when I did Tupac, I said P. Diddy did it. And I said, but he thinks he's clear. Oh, Joe Rogan is also another really dark one. I don't know if you guys have watched all those yet, but Joe Rogan, he keeps popping up like crazy on my stuff. And I'm like, dude, he helped kill Bob Saget. You better know who he really is. But they don't think they did it because they had other people do their dirty work. And that's the puppet masters. If they have other people do the work for them, there's an illusion that they're free. Mm-mm. P. Diddy hired people to kill Tupac, but he is the one in the energy that comes out as responsible, not the people that he manipulated through money to do it. The one that holds the karma is Diddy. Yeah, he didn't pull the trigger. And then they also kept saying the guy from the records. But wasn't he in the car with him? Something like that I learned later. And he didn't die. Right? And then so Joe Rogan, yeah, he's very large, right? A lot of following. And I remember when I did the Bob Saget video, and Bob came through, and he was in like these blue jeans, and they were holy, and he just looked so down to earth, you know? And that's how he presented from the other side. And he didn't die how they said he died. He had some kind of like not a floppy disk, that shows my age a little bit, but like a thing that you put in the computer that holds information. What the hell are those called? He had a whatchamacallit for a computer that had information that would have actually taken down Joe Rogan. So was Bob Saget necessarily innocent? No. Apparently he was kind of running his mouth a little bit, and he knew things he shouldn't have known, and he probably partook in some of them. And so Joe Rogan knew that. Joe Rogan knew that his information could take down a lot of people, just like all these other ones who were silenced, right? Epstein Island type shit. Okay? You feeling me? Oh, and Bob Saget also helped what's his name get off of drugs that was in that show with him. Yeah. I never liked Diddy either. Oh, did he do it? Yes, he did. Did he do it? Yes, he did. And he stole a ring. Which apparently he beat up the guy that shot him for keeping some jewelry from him or something. And I'm like, oh, shiitake, that's that ring, I bet you. I know, or whatever that guy calls himself. Puffy, Puff Daddy. Like, what the hell? So Joe Rogan and Depeche Mode. But Joe Rogan was there. It showed that he was there. He just didn't get blood on his hands necessarily. But there was something that Bob Saget had. What do they call those things you stick in the computer? Like a USB. Bob Saget had a USB with things on it that would have taken a lot of people down. And it's all Epstein Island stuff related, right? They have Fall Guys, but there's a whole tangled web weave of them. So a lot of people with a lot of money generally, thumb drive, yeah, MSD drive, whatever you call those. Yeah, that's what Bob Saget had. And he was kind of running his mouth. But I remember when I first did that video, it was like a few years ago now. After Bob Saget died, I was like, something's wrong. I need to clear this out of the karma. That's why I do those. And Bob Saget came up and he's like, don't talk too much about him. Like he was afraid of me talking about Joe Rogan. And I don't care how many times I say his name. He's not coming to the light. Joe Rogan did it. He in God's energy on the other side, he is responsible for Bob Saget's death, but also Depeche Mode. So some of the members from Depeche Mode, which when was the last time you heard of them? I forgot about Depeche Mode until that video. I was like, oh. So somehow Joe Rogan has ties with Depeche Mode. Some members, I got to clarify, not all of the members, but some of them they're saying. And they had Bob Saget killed because he was kind of running his mouth. And when you really look at the details, it's sketch. Like he was told to go there for some reason to that hotel and like it's all there. They were your favorite band in high school, right? Like we can look back at a lot of bands and go, oh shit, they were really darkness. Well, god dang. But not all of the members from Depeche Mode, I have to clarify. But a majority of them were new and were involved. So Joe Rogan is very dark, and he has a lot of followers. But there's a lot of people out there who aren't operating in the light. Yeah. And if you really keep your heart open enough, you'll see it. So Bob Saget was also murdered. So was Tupac. Okay. Michael Jackson is one of the few that actually faked his death. I also did one on Princess Diana, and she knew they were going to kill her. So she allowed them to believe she died, but she did die later. She's no longer alive now, but her sons knew. Yeah, Princess Diana, they were going to kill her. She knew that. It was a setup, but she actually went ahead of them. So they thought they killed her, but she died later. I can't remember what year it was. It's in the video. It's on this channel. She did die later of a heart attack, though. But her sons knew. Okay. They were very well aware. And I got chills when I said that again. And then later on, Prince Charles, King Charles now, and his wife, God showed their skin falling off. So they'll be exposed. They're not of light at all. They're what they would call lizard people. So is Biden. You know. And there's a reason why they want to take out Trump. Because he knows, and he's not falling into their control. He's ousting, and they don't like that. Same with Abraham Lincoln. They didn't like that, so they take him out. And in Mount Shasta Part 1, we undid the contract Emancipation Proclamation, which didn't become a thing until after Abraham Lincoln was murdered, by the way, because they changed what he originally wanted for it. Okay, so anybody who goes against the matrix, they take you out. They take you out. Okay. So yeah, that's it. That's really, I think, all I have to say today. Be careful with shackles that bind you. You have to be able to get beyond the illusion to see all truth. And God said, when he bypassed some time and he took us into the Nile portal, is that a rule of thumb is if you cannot see it all, there's work to do. So dive deep into that heart space and remove all of the shackles that bind you, from money control to fear to judgment to, all the false foods. Like there's things you've got to be able to see. Okay. Heal anything of the illusion and realize that everything is a reflection of you. Keep your compass inward. So you have to be able to feel your body. So yes, it's true. Even marijuana will block you from fully healing. You have to allow yourself to detox from things to see clearly. Now, I know in the medical field, if you're on insulin and things and you just stop taking that, it'll kill you. So don't do that. I'm not saying that. But you have to get to where you own your sovereignty. And you have to realize that it's what they've been doing that's been killing us. Okay. From the foods that we eat, all the genetic modifications. It's not just in these new V's. It's not just in certain things. It's in a lot of things. A lot of the cows couldn't come into the new earth. There's a lot of things that couldn't come into the new earth because they were genetically modified too much. They're not God's creation anymore. So this is what they did. And that's why they pushed the V right before this came. They knew. They also know everything that's been done. The only thing will remain will be in the light in the new earth. Everything else will fall and crumble. Matter. The matrix in day 8, they said it's like, or was it 7? Whichever one the Nile dried up in, it finally dried up. Okay. So it's not just filling with blood anymore. It's going to dry up. And they said that the matrix is nothingness now. It's only matter, and it's all going to crumble. So if you're on the side of the matrix and that's where you anchor into, you will never know life this way. There's 3 places to go. And they talked about that in day 8 as well, in the portal of time. All right. So to those of you that stayed with me, according to my end, there's 5, but there's been a few popping in and out. Y'all rock. I should do a day of free healings and messages. Does everybody want that? I'm going to do a surprise one of those very soon. Maybe tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to go get ready now to take us to Sequoia for those that did that workshop with me. Because when you heal with me, I heal it for you. That's what the path to righteousness was. I took all your karma and brought it out for you to heal it. And I took you through every gate, called all your power back, gave you all Christ light activations, all DNA activations, and took you into the new earth. Your job, however, is to continue choosing unconditional love. And God said enough now because people were not choosing past the illusion. Unconditional love. God doesn't judge. That's the matrix. God loves all. So you know how they tell you, repent, beg for forgiveness. I mean, asking for forgiveness is great, but you really need to forgive you. When you start healing within you, you return to your connection to God because he's in here. Mysticism. Mystique. That's what Jesus also was. Okay? Know the truth, my friends. Know how to create in the new earth. Know how to truly manifest. And there's only one block to all of it. That's in the shackles that bind. Lack. They're all based in lack. Okay? Fear based in lack because you don't know your power. If fear governs you, it's because you don't realize that once you bypass that, you can create whatever you want to create. It's all an illusion. The laws, there's no laws. No, that binds energy. Okay? Know the truth. So much love. The truth shall set you free always. And I didn't sacrifice so much for nothing. I wanted everybody to ascend. But it's your free will. So much love, my friends. I'll see you next time. Bye. I'll do like a princess thing. I love you guys too. I'll see you later. I'll see some of you at 2:22. And if you guys truly want a free healing and message day, do you guys want that? Like it says there's 5 of you here, but let me know. If I'm going to put myself out there to give away free healings and messages, just show up. All right? All right? All right. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye. All right. I see it. Yes. Yeses. Sweet. Yes, Roger. Be safe. Get the hell out of Dodge if you can. Yeah. I'll see you guys later. Bye.